about Giannis real quick, adding his jump shot, maybe a hot take. I don't know. I think if he adds a jump, like a real 3-point shot where he's like a true threat from there, I think we might be talking about a player that's going to have the highest peak of any player in NBA history in terms of skill, more than Jordan. I'm not going to say he's the greatest of all time. He doesn't have the accolades. But in terms of skill and peak, like what can you do to stop him? He's going to get you defensively. If he can knock down like a 3-point shot, he could shoot down a mid-range. He's starting to make his free throws. He's dominant on the inside. What is the flaw in his game if he adds that? He's even not a bad passer. He has the ability, if he needs to kick it out to somebody.
Is there a path in which Steph Curry can get to the top 5 greatest of all time?
In my opinion, Domantas Sabonis kind of overrated.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to D from 3 for the 31st episode of Season 2 in total right now. I'm here alongside Isaiah Hansen, Gary Sunnyberger. Fellows, how are we doing? I know last episode we sort of had to jump off and then jump back on with the Russell Westbrook mishap, and then, everything just sort of fell off the rails from there with one of the most active NBA trade deadlines in NBA history.
We were ready. We were sitting down knowing that D'Angelo Russell just got traded, jumped right back on. You know, we're always good for it. Unfortunately, I was not up at 2 a.m. when Kevin Durant got traded.
Yeah.
But crazy things afoot in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, and it was a pretty crazy stream. Everybody was, we had a lot of tune-ins and a lot of interaction. So it was really fun. A fun trade deadline, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a feeling like this episode is only going to be that much more fun. We are going to be talking about the NBA trade deadline, recapping, and also talking about some superlatives. Who were the big winners, some of the big losers, the biggest overpay in the NBA trade deadline, as well as the biggest bargain as well. And then after that, we got a couple fun competitions. Once again, Team Isaiah versus Team Gary, with myself moderating when it comes to putting together a team of only the players dealt at the NBA trade deadline. And of course, if you need reference, you can check out theathleteshub.org. I tried my best to put in every single update over there. It was a very, very busy time. I remember coming back from work and literally spending hours and hours just updating the moves all over the place. So all the official moves are on theathleteshub.org. And then also after that, all 3 of us are going to be competing as we're previewing the NBA All-Star Weekend. We're all going to be taking turns drafting our teams as we make our selections for the skills competition. Only 3 teams there. We're going to have a 3-point contest. So 2 of us will end up with 3 players. 1 of us will end up 2. But don't worry, the math's going to add up because in the dunk contest, there's 4 people competing. So the extra person is going to end up with the person that took 1 less player in the 3-point contest. But we'll all get to that a little bit later. First, fellas, I need to address something with Gary because Gary seemed like he had a couple. He told me, Isaiah, even before you came on, he said, I've got a rant about a few different things. So, Gary, is this just a flat out rant or is this tying into one of the topics?
It is tying into one of the topics. It has something to do with our slam dunk competition. If you would like me to get into it right now, I definitely can.
Okay. I mean, I don't see why not, right?
Yeah. And be sure to clip this because my goodness. So the other day, the NBA announced its 4 participants for the slam dunk contest. As you both know, a contest that has been criticized in the past for lack of star talent, lack of ability on the court, and just in general, kind of it being, we always have the question, is the dunk contest dead? Is it even fun to watch anymore? Everyone's missing dunks and, we're all trying to figure out how and why these things are happening. And I really do believe that the NBA has failed us with this dunk contest. Think about it. Back in the day, Dominique versus MJ. Think about it. Back in the day, we had Vince Carter literally blowing the top off the roof of the Air Canada Center. We had so many things that happened where I'm just thinking to myself, wow, it's this is the greatest event of my lifetime. I love the slam dunk contest. We had the Aaron Gordon, Zach LaVine battles, even in times where, we have some lower rated players in the NBA. I think back as a Heat fan to Derek Jones Jr. winning that award. Crazy highlight dunks. I love the slam dunk contest, but it needed some revamping and it needed some star talent. So what did the NBA bring to us? They brought us KJ Martin, Mac McClung, who I will remind you is on a two-way deal, Trey Murphy III, who's good in his own right, and Jericho Sims, who I know for your Knicks is a pretty good player, but this is what we're getting.
Yeah.
We have been waiting for star talent in this NBA slam dunk contest, and the biggest name that we have is Mac McClung, and it's just because he played for the Lakers for a couple of minutes. This is the problem with this All-Star weekend. We hype this up to be this fantastic event. We hype this All-Star weekend up to be, an earth-shattering experience for everyone involved. It's supposed to bring the NBA community together. It's supposed to bring eyes to the screen. It's one of the only events that my father, who is a diehard NFL fan, watches the Miami Heat every now and then when they're in the playoffs, but isn't really interested in the NBA. But what does he tune into? He tunes into the slam dunk contest. And am I really going to text my dad and say, hey, oh man, I can't wait for you to watch Trey Murphy III? He doesn't know who that is. He doesn't know who KJ Martin is. He doesn't know who Jericho Sims is. And yes, I understand that Zion Williamson is hurt. And I understand that Shaedon Sharp backed out of the event, which is someone that I really wanted to see. An up-and-coming rookie jumps out of the building in Portland. But guys, it really does baffle me to the highest extent that I can be baffled. Why we think this slam dunk contest is such an attention draw for casual fans in the NBA. It's a great social media time. The NBA drives most of its viewership from social media clips. And here we are putting they're not bums, but no one knows who they are. I'm sorry. There's no reason why we can't have a star player. And it really does just show the cowardness of the NBA stars in this league, that they don't want to participate in this dunk contest because they're afraid that they'll lose. They're afraid that they'll be a laughing stock, someone like Aaron Gordon, who probably should have won but didn't. And now all he'll be known for is losing those slam dunk contests. It's crazy to me that the NBA's biggest marketable event in the past 30, 40 years is reduced to 4 role players on teams that we're not really watching all that much. And it's just so sad to me that an event that I love, an event that I've been waiting to see for the last year to see what they would do to revamp it. And now we're sitting here with 4 role players. And I want to ask both of you, just in general, your opinion on how you view the slam dunk contest and how you think they've been able to change it. And I'm sorry that I had to hijack it to scream about it, but goodness, why are we letting this happen as fans? Why are we sitting here? I'm not saying to boycott the event, but needs to be something that we do as NBA fans to show the league they need to start taking this more seriously, because at this point, your most marketable event, the biggest event of the year, is just being reduced to 4 reserve players, throwing up some dunks. And yeah, sure, they can probably jump out of the building, but we're at the point in our in media and in Twitter and in YouTube where I can watch Jordan Kilgannon do twice the amount of dunks that these NBA players can do. So what's the incentive for me to go watch the game, to watch, Mac McClung, do a tomahawk dunk? I can watch LeBron James do that in games. I can watch these players in games do these dunks that we're watching in the slam dunk contest. And I don't know if you remember last year, there were a lot of damn misses. So it's just a indictment on the league and how they're handling the All-Star weekend in general, and just how we as fans are kind of putting up with the fact that we're getting subpar talent in these amazing competitions. And just I needed to say something because it did make me upset, because look at the 3-point contest and there's some genuine star talent in there. Jason Tatum, we have players in these events that are willing to participate. Why is the slam dunk contest so hard to find people? What is the problem? Why are we letting this happen? And I don't know the answer, other than I think the players are scared to lose. And that's just sad. As a league, someone who grew up watching these players at their heights, watching the highlights of Michael Jordan dunking from the free throw line, the most iconic moment in NBA history happened at the dunk contest. And here we are with sorry players in those spots. And it's depressing as a fan to watch this happen. And I don't know where you guys stand on it, but rant over. That's my 2 cents.
Isaiah, what are your thoughts, man?
I think, first of all, hang on. First of all, yeah, and he is right. Everything he said is right. I retweet everything Gary just said. Look, there are 450 total NBA players in the league approximately right now. You know how far down the list you had to go to end up with Mac McClung, Jericho Sims, like the amount of players that have passed up on the opportunity. Because you have to imagine if we're this far down the list, like they had to ask almost every NBA player, like, hey, you know, like we need you, and not a single like I could think of so many players, like hell, like we're better off just throwing Blake Griffin into the mix again. Let's see what he can do.
I would rather watch that. I know he can't jump that much anymore, but I
Yeah,
would rather from like a star talent standpoint and social media clicks, that would do so much better.
exactly right. Like bring back Dwight Howard from Taiwan. Just like there's so much you could do. I think I even saw, I forget which analyst said last year. It would be really cool if like you had like a player sponsor, someone outside of the league to do an NBA dunk contest. There's so many ways you could go about this than what we've been getting, even with Obi Toppin one. I mean, I'm a Knicks guy, right? So but man, it was a halftime show, right? And it was so, oh my god, it was so hard to watch. But I don't want to talk about it too much because Obi Toppin won and he's a Knicks, so I'm gonna let it go. But
Obi Toppin was the 8th pick of the draft. Like it
yeah,
wasn't like he was someone that was like completely unknown. Unless I'm crazy, I'm gonna look up where these guys are drafted at this point, but
right.
I don't. Yeah, like
So it's tough. It's tough. I feel like it's becoming an afterthought. Maybe the players are just, they're making so much money to where like it's so hard to incentivize these players to do something with their draft. So like you need to get creative and figure something out because this ain't it. This ain't it.
no.
I'd rather you just say, hey, nobody wanted to participate in the draft, so we're skipping it this year because it's basically what we have.
All right, here's my brief thoughts. First of all, I'm not going to let anybody slander former LA Laker Mac McClung, who, if you remember, last season had the very last play of the regular season in which the Lakers missed the playoffs. The reverse dunk and the win. What a dunk. What a dunk, Mac McClung. But anyways.
I can't believe what I just heard.
Here's sort of my approach to fixing the dunk contest, and maybe it would be just something that interests me. Maybe it would interest both of you, maybe other people watching the stream. I actually think, Gary, you go in the completely opposite direction. Instead of getting more star players, what if we had two, let's say, average or star NBA players? I agree you got to get better players now than you currently have in this pool of current participants. But you guys remember that show Dunk King over on TNT, how they just took guys off the street? What if we had some NBA players up against like some street dunkers or something like that? Some guys that play pickup, just viral sensations that they bring over into the NBA. Because what happens in the NBA if a guy off the streets literally beats one of your representatives in an all-star weekend contest? I think that would go absolutely nuts. Imagine if John Smith off the street comes in and takes out Mac McClung in the dunk contest. People are going to be like, what's going on? And maybe that'll pursue the NBA to bring in some better players like a John Morant, like some of these other more electric dunkers in today's league. I actually think you go in the completely opposite direction because there was a lot of viral sensations that went on to Dunk King and did very, very well for social media clicks. I think they would do a whole lot better in a platform like this.
I do think you're right about the off the street guys. Like, do you mean like just like I'm walking by the arena and they
No. I
like,
mean like they have to go recruit guys that literally have like these clips of insane dunk, like guys you would bring on to Dunk King, for example.
Yeah, like the Jordan Kilgannon. I keep bringing him up because he's quite honestly the best dunker in person and like on video I've ever seen in my life. But like a guy like that going up against these NBA guys I hope for them bring the competition out a little bit, give them a little incentive to try. And that's really, I think where my problem lies is not with the players not trying. It's the league not trying. They need to commit to something. And if they want to have these 4 guys, like you said, if they want to go on the other opposite end of the spectrum, they want to bring unknown guys so that they can build their star talent in the league. You need to give them an incentive to have a competition. When Blake Griffin was in the dunk contest, everyone knew Blake Griffin was one of the best dunkers in the league. So what did everybody else around them do? Is they tried a little harder. When you have guys like Derrick Jones Jr., who we know is a dunk guy, and I mean, I love I know the 4 guys we have. I'm sure they have really incredible dunks, but there's guys who have reputations around the league as dunkers, and when you have one of those guys in the dunk contest, it just brings out the more of what we can see. When you have a guy, a role player, but someone like Terrence Ross, who won the dunk contest in 2013, when you have someone like him who around the league, everyone's like, Terrence Ross is that guy. He can dunk. And then you put him on the marquee of the dunk contest and go, this is a guy who's very popular for dunking. Then you're talking business. So, if they're doing the off the street draft or dunking kind of guys, you need to have somebody with talent who's got a name who can bring some competition to the event.
Right.
Or let's just replace the whole thing and go with like a 1v1 tournament or something. Like, there's some. Let's just.
That's the other thing is that are we really going to have these guys come out here and lose in a 1v1? Because that's the debate, isn't it? That's always like, who's the greatest player in the world, and it's always comes down to, well, who would win on a 1v1, LeBron or Kevin Durant? And I mean, that's not how basketball's played, but there would be people that are like, well, I think Kyrie Irving's better than this guy because he beat him in a one-on-one. It's like, okay, if that's how we're judging basketball, sure. I'm sure that there's guys at Rucker Park who could beat like a guy in the NBA in a one-on-one contest, but set a screen on the guy and run like a floppy action on the left side of the court. That Rucker Park guy doesn't have the basketball IQ to keep up with the NBA level talent. So, I don't know. One-on-ones are a pipe dream, but God, would I love that. That would be so good. That would be so fun.
Anything beats this. So
yeah.
So we'll revisit the dunk contest at the very end of the show. Obviously, we're going to be doing our All-Star Weekend picks with the draft style as well. But let's start off with the NBA trade deadline as we get into the beef of this show, the meat and the potatoes. So let's go through this. Let's talk about, first off, who did you guys think that the winner of this NBA trade deadline was? Was there a specific move that sort of stood out to you that says this team won the deadline? I'll sort of start with Isaiah, and then we'll go from there.
I'm going to give a boring answer. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's definitely the Phoenix Suns because I was ready, and I've been writing them off for maybe 2 years. Even when they were in the playoffs, I'm like, what is really your ceiling as far as like getting in the NBA Finals? Chris Paul getting older, Devin Booker not quite being able to get the job done. Go ahead and just add Kevin Durant to that mix. Like, don't do nothing. Like, you don't even got to get rid of DeAndre Ayton. You keep Booker, you keep Paul, you get rid of Bridges, who's a very good player, but you're getting Kevin Durant back. So I think instantly the Phoenix Suns become an NBA Finals contender. I don't know if it's going to be this year. We'll see when Kevin Durant comes back. But you're talking about being a legitimate title favorite again within the next 2 seasons. Even though you had to give up a lot of draft capital, it's worth it if you're the Phoenix Suns. So I think they did the best thing they could have done is acquire. I don't know where he is on your top players in the league, at least top 3 and almost everybody's players right now. So yeah, got to be the Suns.
I was gonna say you already know where I have them all the time on my list.
Oh God, top 10, right?
So here's something that's sort of interesting about the Suns, though, Isaiah, is at first I agree with you 100%. Like the fact that you got Kevin Durant and you didn't have to give up Devin Booker, Chris Paul, or DeAndre Ayton, like it almost makes the Brooklyn Nets big losers in that case, right? Because you don't really have a face of your team anymore. The only thing that devil's advocates or critics would sort of say to the Phoenix Suns is outside of their starting 5 of Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Torrey Craig, Kevin Durant, and DeAndre Ayton, they don't really have a whole lot of depth on that team. And one would argue that in order to win the NBA Finals, you need a bench. That's how Golden State has won so many times before. It's been about that depth, right? So are you sort of worried about the lack of depth? Because once KD comes back from injury in the playoffs, they're probably going to be demanding at least 34, 35 minutes a game from him.
I think eventually, yes, but that's why I really look towards maybe next year because it allows you the free agency, to add some pieces. And it's going to be a little bit easier to attract some free agents when you say, yeah, you're going to team with Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and DeAndre Ayton. And, say what you want about Kevin Durant. He's not a selfish player. He proved that in Golden State. I don't believe Devin Booker is a selfish player. I mean, especially in clutch time. He's going to say, here you go, KD. Like, he's going to be totally fine with this situation. And, of course, Chris Paul, one of the best distributors in the game. So it's just a great mix. And I think they're going to have not the toughest time to get some free agents to come over to Phoenix next year.
Yeah.
I do think they have a pretty decent, their bench isn't star-studded, but they just signed a couple of guys. They got Terrence Ross, they got Darius Baisley, they received TJ Warren when the trade for Kevin Durant. Like, it's not terrible, but it's not what you want in a championship roster.
Right. And Gary, what about you? Who was your the team that sort of stuck out to you for the trade deadline?
I'm gonna stick with the Kevin Durant trade, but not for what the Nets got, not for what the Suns got, but for what the Houston Rockets get in their 4 unprotected picks that they own that Brooklyn has. So right now, Brooklyn, obviously a defensive stalwart roster of 3-and-D wings, including Ben Simmons, is probably going to end up, getting rid of some guys here. They've got a good amount of players that can grab them some good draft picks. Mikal Bridges, to name just one. Cam Johnson, I mean, I think they might keep him because of how young he is and just how promising his future looks. But if you're the Brooklyn Nets, you might be looking a little bottom out, kind of slide into that, not Victor Wembanyama, because they do have a winning record this year, but maybe next year kind of slide into that. We're kind of rebuilding lull of, trading a lot of our good guys. And so who comes out of the winner is the Houston Rockets. They own 4 unprotected first-round picks to a team that just lost Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, the only 2 reasons they were winning these games. So when you're looking at draft capital for the next 4 years, the Houston Rockets made out like bandits when it comes to the picks that they got. I have them all right here. They have Brooklyn's 2024 first-round pick. They have the first-round pick swap in 2025. They have a pick swap in 2026. They have a pick swap in 2023, I didn't mention earlier. And then they have a pick swap in 2027. That's 4 picks that they get to just have because they got rid of James Harden in that trade that he traded to the Brooklyn Nets. Now, with the Brooklyn Nets disbanding, you're a Houston Rockets fan, you're looking at Jabari Smith Jr., you're looking at Jalen Green, and you're looking at these guys and going, all we need is 2 or 3 of these draft picks to work out, and we have a potential championship roster here in the next 5 years. So I really like what the Houston Rockets did this trade deadline. Also, dropping Eric Gordon, who I wanted him to be a really good veteran for this team. But, you get some picks from him. He goes over to the Clippers in the deadline, reuniting with the team that drafted him. So my trade deadline winner, kind of surprising, but the Houston Rockets.
Wow, I did not see that coming from you.
Yeah. Oh, I threw a curveball. I'm all about. I got junk pitches.
Baseball later on.
Well, Gary, you're throwing the curveball. I might be throwing. What's the pitch? The ephus or whatever.
The ephus.
I'm throwing the ephus. I'm throwing the super slow pitch. Shout out to Free Baseball coming on at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be sure to check it out tonight. I'm going to be throwing the most basic alley-oop pick that you can imagine because, gentlemen, the point of the NBA trade deadline, when your team is struggling, the intention is to get better and put yourself back into the playoff picture. And what did my Los Angeles Lakers do? They did just that. I felt like Rob Pelinka. This is what he was doing. Just, anything he could do to get on the phone with any team willing to listen. As soon as the LA Lakers lost out on the Kyrie Irving sweepstakes, we knew it was bound to happen. As soon as he was dealt to the Dallas Mavericks, a lot of people thought to themselves, all right, well, that's it for the Lakers. They'll ride out this roster. Russell Westbrook is just going to be the guy coming off the bench. Everybody said, including in the reports from the media, other sources have said that in order to let go of Westbrook to another team, you have to give up at least 1 first-round pick, which made everyone think that it had to be Russell Westbrook and 2 first-round picks. Instead, they reunite themselves with D'Angelo Russell. They get Jared Vanderbilt. They get Malik Beasley. And all they have to give up is Russell Westbrook, who is sitting on his couch. He's playing the same amount of minutes as I am tonight for the Los Angeles Lakers. And after that, you only have to give up 1 first-round pick a few years down the road. So I thought that was a winning move. And then you combine that with the earlier move of Hachimura, and then you're combining that with just the fact that you're getting these guys. Even if D'Angelo Russell doesn't pan out for the Lakers this season, it's important to remember that both D'Angelo Russell and Kyrie Irving have become unrestricted free agents after this season. So this summer, it's going to open a huge window for the Lakers if they still want Kyrie and Kyrie doesn't win a championship with the Dallas Mavericks this season. Kyrie's more than likely going to join the LA Lakers. You can clip that for when he does sign this summer. And gentlemen, one really important note, he's only played 2 games, but in that very first game when he came back to the Lakers, he outplayed Klay Thompson. He outplayed him. He put up 15 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Klay Thompson, obviously without Steph Curry, has a huge factor in it. He scored 15 points on 21 shots, Klay Thompson did, and had 3 rebounds and 3 assists. And the Lakers ended up winning that game. I believe it was 109-103. They, of course, lost the following game to the Portland Trailblazers, where the Trailblazers put up almost 130 points on the Lakers' defense. But when we're talking about the Lakers, we're talking about only a handful of games outside of the play-in tournament, and you're telling me that if the Lakers, even as the last seed of the play-in tournament, if they have to go up, let's say, against the New Orleans Pelicans, who they play later tonight, you're telling me a team with LeBron James, Anthony Davis, D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura, the whole entire crew, you're telling me that team can't take on the New Orleans Pelicans? Oh, come on. The Lakers are going to be in the playoffs just fine. Just fine.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, man. The Lakers, I really do think that this deadline, they played it pretty safe when it comes to their draft picks. I know that they had the 2 that they were looking to move. Mm-hmm. So the ability to get all those players with just a couple of players that, like Russell Westbrook, wasn't really doing all that much for them in terms of the winning of games. The chemistry really wasn't there. He was beefing with Darvin Ham. So it's good to see that they were able to improve without giving up their entire plethora of picks.
Yeah. And also, just another note too, the other team that I thought won this deadline was also a team that got mentioned earlier. I thought the LA Clippers did a fantastic job. They picked up Eric Gordon, who we talked about, but also picked up Mason Plumlee from the Hornets. They picked up Bones Highland, who I saw Gary tweeted about, and said something on the lines of, that's all it took for Bones Highland for a second-round pick, I think it was.
Yeah. When you have guys like Jay Crowder going for 5 second-round picks, and an up-and-coming player like Bones Highland is only going for like 1 or 2.
And all they had to do is give up John Wall, Luke Kennard, and Reggie Jackson at the deadline, and you end up with Eric Gordon, Mason Plumlee, Bones Highland, and a second-round pick. I thought that was a fantastic turnaround for the Clippers.
100%. And the fact that they're struggling with that, like, not just depth, but like health and just in general getting guys around that to elevate the play of their superstars when they're there. Eric Gordon is a perfect example for somebody who was by James Harden's side for the longest time in Houston, who can perfectly play off of those isolation-heavy players.
Yeah. And so, Gary, I'll throw this right back to you. So let's go to the opposite side, the losers of this NBA trade deadline. What's the one name that sort of stuck out to you?
What are my Miami Heat doing? What are we doing?
They're waiting for Russell Westbrook.
Screw Russell Westbrook. Why haven't we made a trade since 2021? The last time the Miami Heat made a trade was the Victor Oladipo trade, where we traded Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk, a swap, and first-round pick. That's the last time we made a trade that acquired a player. Recently, we just gave up Dwayne Dedmon and a second-round pick for cash. When I saw that move, I thought, wow, we must be doing something, opening up a roster spot to grab a player. What are we doing? I'm excited. Are we getting rid of Kyle Lowry, who hasn't really done much? Are we getting, a point guard that we can rely on to be there at games? Are we getting some 3-point shooting now that Duncan Robinson has fallen off the face of the earth? No, we do nothing. Just like Miami Heat always have done. We just stick with our team a little bit too long until it doesn't pan out anymore. I read a report, and I don't know how true this is, so I'm not going to go off and say this is gospel, but there was a report that Pat Riley could not be contacted during the NBA trade deadline because he was taking a nap. And I love Pat Riley, but if that report is true, there needs to be a serious change up in the Heat front office when it comes to the person that is making these decisions. I love Pat Riley as the president of basketball operations, but Andy Ellisberg, our general manager, I think at this point he's the vice president of basketball operations, has done a lot of our cap space movement, and I've been a part of a lot of our like undrafted free agent signings and just generally team building throughout the league. Pat Riley does more of the big brain, big project stuff, overseeing a lot of the organization. But if your head of basketball operations is napping during the trade deadline, we have a serious problem in our organization. And I'm worried, just like most fan bases, are we wasting the primes of our two greatest players? Are we wasting the prime of Jimmy Butler? Are we wasting the prime of Bam Adebayo? Once we have Tyler Hero now on his rookie extension, we don't have the moves to make these free agency deals like we used to. We don't have the ability, unless we're, getting rid of Bam Adebayo, unless we're getting rid of Tyler Hero, there's no more big moves that we can make. We have this Kyle Lowry contract, and he's not doing well for us. We need to get rid of him in just the sense of we need to bring winning basketball back to the city so that we can, advance farther in the playoffs. We were a 3-point shot away from making the NBA Finals last year, and we don't do anything at the trade deadline. It doesn't make sense to me. It just shows a lack of commitment to the team we have around us, but it also shows a lack of willing to do anything. And I don't know where we go from this because it's the same team we had last year, and it wasn't enough. And if we're content with staying a second round exit or a conference finals exit, at least give me the hope that we can make it there by making some moves, because as of right now, it looks pretty bleak when it comes to the front office of this Miami Heat team. And I know I picked my homer team. I know I went with, of course, the Heat, but, you should see the text that I sent my best friend about just how upset I was. My caps button is broken at this point. It's sad. It really is just disheartening from a Heat fan to watch this happen.
Man,
sorry, it's true.
Yeah. What are your sort of thoughts? I know right now the Heat, what are you, six games above 500, 6 seeds still, probably moving up to 5 once the Brooklyn Nets sort of come down from their big climb up. And did you sort of have another team in the East in mind, or are you switching over to the West now?
Yeah, I'm gonna follow a similar formula as Gary did in the last round. I'm gonna talk about a team that really didn't do much in the trade deadline, but it's not about what they did. It's about what other teams did, and now suddenly they are looked at as potentially the 4th favorite, if that, maybe 5th, 6th, and you guys had them as your NBA Finals winners at the start of the season. I'm going with the Golden State Warriors. Okay, you not only did you have to deal with the sad reality of trading James Wiseman, somebody who I really thought had big potential, and then Golden State. What have you always needed? You've needed a center to work around, to work with Draymond and Curry and Clay. Still a great team, but it's about what has happened now. Like I said, I've had the Denver Nuggets since before the season. I'm still sticking with them this year. But then you see what the Phoenix Suns have done. You see even the Mavericks. We got to see what's going to happen with Kyrie Irving there, but he's looked pretty good next to Luka. And so I'm looking at the Warriors as potentially one of the biggest losses because of what is unfolding. Now they are kind of looking up at a wall as far as becoming like championship contenders again. And I really just go after their lack of activity. They gave up a couple of second-round picks for Gary Payton, who is a nice player to have when everything's all together. But with Curry being out for the season, or well, not for the season, but for at least a little while, it's looking a lot like it was 2 years ago when they were eliminated in the play-in by the Grizzlies. So you go from NBA Finals winners to potentially seeing yourself out of the picture, in my opinion, for at least the next 2 years, as long as Kevin Durant is in Phoenix and as long as the Nuggets still have Joker and, a healthy Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. I think they went from a team that I really thought could win maybe the NBA Finals again next year to a team that I don't see now as not even a top 5 favorite. So.
Wow, not even a top 5 favorite is what he says. Wow. Yeah. So I have one team in mind in both conferences. I think we talked about this team before over in the East, And it's not for the reason you may think. The Brooklyn Nets are one team that I thought was a big loser coming out of this because of the sad reality of the fact that Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and James Harden. Do either of you know how many games all three of those players have played in a game together with the Brooklyn Nets?
Less than a month's worth for sure.
It's got to be like 25.
25 for Gary. Isaiah, what do you say?
Yeah, less than a month. I'm going to go 21.
All right, so the final answer is 16. 16
oh my gosh.
Those three players have all been on the court together. Absolute sad reality. And the fact that in that trade with the Phoenix Suns, I get it. You're building for the future. You're basically folding for this year. You didn't even get back one star player from the Phoenix Suns. You couldn't even get DeAndre Ayton, who at one point in time didn't even want to be in a Suns uniform. I don't understand how you came away with that kind of deal if you're the Brooklyn Nets. I can't imagine Nets fans are very happy aside from the draft compensation that's sort of coming their way. So that was sort of my one team just for that sad reality, because at the time of that trade of Kevin Durant, the Nets, they weren't a bad team. They were fifth in the Eastern Conference. They were a very, very good and promising team. This was a team that I actually thought was going to shock the East at the beginning of the season. It turns out they're shocking the East for the exact wrong reasons. And so in the Western Conference, it was sort of this 1A and 1B of losers. Was the Memphis Grizzlies and the Denver Nuggets didn't really need to make any moves at the deadline, right? But when you see everybody else around you in your conference just stacking up, adding players, selling picks for immediate talent, for an immediate shot, if you're the Grizzlies and your Nuggets, you're one of those teams that's in it to win this year, and neither one of them were able to do really much of anything at the deadline to improve their chances at an NBA championship. I don't know if you guys saw this, but the Memphis Grizzlies offered not one, not two, not three, 4 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges before he was shipped off to Brooklyn. 4 first-rounders for Mikal Bridges. I'm sorry. That's the price, basically, of Kevin Durant. That is the price of Kevin Durant. What are we talking about? Mikal Bridges is a great defensive player, a great two-way player, a defensive player of the year candidate year in, year out. He is not on that superstar caliber of 4 first-round picks for return value. I just was so confused how that all played out with Mikal Bridges, with Memphis Grizzlies, because other teams in the West got significantly better. It's probably the toughest conference we've seen in the NBA in, I would say, years, maybe the last decade or so. I can't remember the last time these many teams have been this good in the West. Yeah. So
you're not a fan of Thomas Bryant and Luke Kennard?
Oh, goodness.
I mean, I get the pain when it comes to Thomas Bryant. Luke Kennard can hit some threes, but what a massive contract that man has. I don't know if that's worth it.
Yeah, but let's move into sort of just the biggest overpay. I know we're about 40 minutes into this, so we'll run through the last 2 topics and then get into these drafts as well. So what did you guys think that the biggest overpay was? Let's start with Isaiah.
I think you kind of just nailed it on the 1 second. Oops.
Oh, well, rest in peace,
Yes,
Isaiah. He said, give me 1 second and I'm gone. So
what do you think, Gary?
Jay Crowder, easy.
Jay
5
Crowder.
first-round pick, 5 second-round picks for Jay Crowder, who was not good in the playoffs last year. I know his veteran presence. He's a pretty streaky scorer. But 5 second-round picks for a guy who Phoenix was trying to get off the floor last year and managed to really stink it up in the playoffs. And yeah, he had a good finals run with the Heat back in the bubble, and he was really promising on the Suns last year with their large win total, high cat, large win total. But 5 second-round picks for a guy who might not even get significant playing time in the playoffs is a little, disappointing to say the least.
Yeah, mine I thought was Isaiah mentioned this before, the Gary Payton trade, especially after finding out about his abdominal injury and the surgery that he had and the fact that he wasn't healthy when dealt, even though the Trailblazers said, oh, no, he's definitely healthy at that time. You basically flipped around the number 2 pick of the 2020 draft in James Wiseman, like Isaiah said, and then a whole bunch of second-round picks for a guy that's not even going to play anytime soon is what it sounds like. I don't even know if he's expected to return this season at all. And then you think to yourself, okay, well, the Golden State Warriors, they have these luxury cap issues. They're playing against the cap. The difference in salary isn't that big. James Wiseman was expected to make $12 million this season, and Gary Payton is expected to make $9 million. So you saved $3 million against the cap, and it's like this country, like the United States, is so far in deficit, right? But you do one little step, and you're like, okay, well, we're working our way out of the deficit, and then you look up, then the whole entire you're up to your heads and shoulders in the deficit still. And so it didn't make sense to me why the Golden State Warriors would trade out James Wiseman. I get he's sort of been in and out of the G League, and then he didn't really receive a whole lot of playing time. But still, this was a very, very young talent for the Golden State Warriors. The move just confused me, and I thought it was a big overpay to do all of that.
Especially considering that there's a lot of talk around Portland purposefully not letting information be known about their players during trades. And the fact that it wasn't Gary Payton was playing. It wasn't like he was not active and they traded for an injured player. He was actively playing in games. And then all of a sudden they trade for him. And then he comes out and he's like, no, I'm hurt. It's like, what were you doing in Portland? Or are they purposely playing hurt players so that they can parlay them into draft picks? And if that's so, I think we see action from the league in terms of punishment when it comes to lack of information. Yeah. It's purposeful endangerment of players. It's purposeful neglect of your franchise, and it's actively tricking other teams. And, there's one thing in throwing a no-look pass or tricking somebody on the court. But when it comes to the contracts and the legal proceedings that these have to go through in order to be confirmed by the league office, if you're purposefully leaving out information, that's giant lawsuit talk. That's giant asset loss. We talk about teams tampering to get star players. If you're actively letting information be unknown to get rid of talent, and then having the Warriors give up the number 2 draft pick in the NBA draft, James Wiseman, for a player that's hurt, and you don't know about it until after, you could face some serious repercussions. And I wouldn't be surprised if the investigations that happen with Portland turn out to be true. Yeah. That they're out, like not out, but like there's going to be some shakeup in their office in terms of like losing draft picks or, just in general, punishments, suspensions. It's a serious legal issue what they might have done. And I wouldn't be surprised if the league acts swiftly to make sure that they are an example is set of the Portland Trailblazers. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And then sort of moving over, hopefully we get Isaiah back sooner than later. Yeah. But what do you sort of think the biggest bargain was of this deadline?
I think in terms of bargain, the one that I would have to go with is just in general, the amount of talent that the Dallas Mavericks got for just the amount, the little that they were able to give up for Kyrie Irving, a guy who could possibly push you over the edge into championship contention. And you really didn't have to give up all that much to get rid of him or to acquire him. It's silly to me that it was so cheap. I know I made the article, which you can go read on theathleteshub.org, about Kyrie Irving being a giant liability. And I do still believe that's true, but it does say something to his just general his stance among the league as an asset and a liability, that you were able to get a former NBA champion, one of the greatest isolation players in NBA history, a guy who's having a pretty decent season for Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, a first-round pick that's protected, and 2 future second-round picks. Like, that's when you think of Rudy Gobert getting 5 first-round picks, and then Kyrie Irving only taking 1 and 2 role players who, according to Mavericks fans, were not enough for Kyrie or for Luka Doncic. When you're trading for Kyrie Irving and you're giving up the non-help that Luka Doncic had, it does seem like, in general, that you're pretty much you're getting a great deal, but you're also like giving up from the net standpoint way too much for acquiring way too little. I think Dallas Mavericks are that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Obviously, the Dallas Mavericks, I mean, they're putting up great numbers, Kyrie, since joining the Mavericks. It's not necessarily correlating to the win-loss, but still, nonetheless, I think that's a great bargain pick. The pick that I was going to have was sort of a cheap pick, and it's also one of my Lakers picks as well. I thought that, looking back on it, that Hachimura for Kendrick Nunn and 3 second-round picks, Hachimura, 10 games for the Lakers, 27 minutes a game, and he's putting up 12 points and 6 rebounds. For a bench player, someone coming off as a role player that has to share the floor with LeBron or AD or Russ at the time, I think that's a great, great value. And then Kendrick Nunson's being dealt to Washington, averaging 9 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists across 19 minutes per game. So once again, it's role player for role player. But I think if you're the Lakers and you needed sort of that upgrade, that's who I'm going to go with, is the guy that just watching the film and watching the Lakers games, obviously, as consistently as I do, I think he fits right in with the scheme that we've been trying to run. As we welcome back Isaiah. Isaiah, you obviously missed our biggest overpay, but we'll let you sneak in before we do these drafts. What do you think the biggest bargain of the NBA trade deadline was?
You know, I wanted to – I don't know if it's a bargain per se, because they did give up Josh Richardson, but it was a sneaky good pick. I like that the Spurs got Devontae Graham and some second-round draft picks for Josh Richardson. Like, that was a pretty nice pickup. Yeah. And, I mean, of course, the Spurs, their state of their organization right now, I don't know if it's going to do much for them in the long run. But having a player like that, and not that Josh Richardson is a bad player, I just think that's a pretty nice little sneaky pickup for them to put next to Keldon Johnson.
A second-round pick costing 4 second-round picks. Crazy.
Yeah.
And Isaiah, before we move into this NBA trade deadline draft and these all-star picks as well, I got to get your thoughts because I don't think we've talked about this. Did you see that clip of Jalen Brunson finding out that Josh Hart was going to be his new teammate? Doesn't it warm the heart just a little bit? I know you're not a big Jalen Brunson guy, but it's got to warm the heart a little bit.
And it was at Villanova where they both went. He was in Villanova, like he was there, and then he got that. Oh, so good.
It's like, oh, man.
No Josh Hart slander on this podcast. I will not allow it. Josh Hart is a winning basketball player.
I've been giving a lot of WWE references lately. I don't know why, but it's like for me, like someone that never really cared for John Cena, like you're pushing him down our throats so many years and stuff. And like all this Brunson thing, like I just need a playoff appearance from Brunson, one good game in the playoffs, and that's it. I'm sold. That's it.
Yep. All right.
He did that. He scored 40 points in the Western Conference Finals last year.
I'm sorry. I didn't know the Knicks played in the Western Conference.
Oh, my God. It was
I need it here. Okay. We rolled out the red carpet for him. And it's not about him. Like I said, it's not that I'm not a Jalen Brunson guy. I'm not a fan of how we brought him in. So I need to see more.
All right. Let's move into these drafts. We've got a whole lot of drafting to do. It's one of my favorite things about this show. I know it's the favorites for a lot of people that tune in for this as well. First, we're going to start with, Pure Hooper. We're going to be starting with the NBA trade deadline draft. Here's how it's going to work. I'm going to moderate, and it's going to be Team Isaiah versus Team Gary. As always, it's going to be 5 players that you're building in a starting lineup. So point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center. You can obviously move guys around, but don't be crazy picking 5 different centers. And then you also get a 6-man / wild card pick as well. If, like the 6-man, of course. The top players are going to include Kevin Durant, Kyrie, D'Angelo Russell, Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, or maybe you want to take my boy Russell Westbrook. You never know how this draft is going to work out. So if Isaiah has the wheel ready, we'll spin the wheel for Gary versus Isaiah, and then it'll be snake draft as always. And the person that has the first pick will ultimately end up with the 4th pick as well, because the person that goes second will also get the 3rd pick.
Now, last week, I'm pretty sure it was debatable whether or not you wanted the first round. The 1st pick. This one, I don't think it is, right?
Yep, I think you want that number 1 pick. I think you want Kevin Durant. I mean, it's a great start to the team.
Kevin Durant, are you sure? No, I'm joking.
All right. Yeah, I was going to pick Svima Heilig.
Oh, boy. Gary, fix the microphone.
Where Mars? Yeah. Hang on. All right, so let's get some music. Let me see if I can.
There we go. The music is back.
Let's see. Okay. Let's spin the wheel, dang it. Okay, here we go. There we go.
We find out is Isaiah.
on, man.
Isaiah ends up with number draft.
I swear it's not rigged. I swear it's not.
So Isaiah ends up with number 1. Isaiah, I don't even know if we need to preview the number 1 pick of this NBA trade deadline draft. Is Durant the guy?
Go ahead and read the numbers. Yes, Kevin Durant is of course the guy. That's who you start the team with. If this was like every player in the league, you might start with Kevin Durant. So yes, Kevin Durant.
This is true, which then leaves Gary up with picks number 2 and 3, which can be favorable. You never know if you play your cards right. This is sort of where the thick of the draft happens.
So I think it's obvious with my first pick. I'm going with Kyrie Irving. Obvious one-on-one superstar. Hopefully works out in Dallas. But I think my second pick is a lot more interesting. I will be picking someone who will be stopping Kevin Durant, someone who not only is one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, but might just be the most expensive perimeter defensive player in the league. I'm going with Mikal Bridges as my second pick. Locking up KD with that one.
Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. As we throw it to Isaiah for the next 2 picks.
Yeah, I don't know about locking him up, but that was a nice pick. That was a nice pick. All right. So I'm going to keep it simple. I'm not going to go crazy with this pick. I definitely want to lock down a good point guard. I'm so tempted to reunite the two, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go ahead and pick your guy, Dev, D'Angelo Russell, next to KD. I just need a guy that could pass the ball to KD, first of all, and who's not completely terrible. He's a good player. That's all he is. He's a good player. But, that's it. Nothing really else special there. I don't know if this is a surprise, but I'm going to go with a nice player I'm surprised he went for so cheap. At least if you would have asked me before the season, would I think this deal would have gone through? Definitely not. I'm going to go with Mr. Sadiq Bey. I think that's a nice add.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Okay, so that leaves me with some options here. I'm looking at some players. I'm looking at what day are we? What day is this? Only like that week of the trade deadline? Like, can I take a guy that
I would say the earliest you can take would be Hachimura from the Lakers.
Okay.
Earliest you can go, which is
gotcha.
like January 22nd or 28th or something like that.
You were pretty close, the 23rd. But I'm looking at them all right here. I think when it comes to this next pick, I got to go somebody who's going to give me not only some scoring, but somebody who I can trust in a playoff scenario, somebody who I can kind of pretty much rely on as just a guy to shoot the basketball and has done some pretty good stuff, some upside. I'm gonna go with another Brooklyn Net. I'm going Cam Johnson.
Ooh, Cam Johnson.
Need some stretch. I need some perimeter shooting.
All right.
And on the back end, I'm gonna need some defense at the rim. And I'm gonna go with Raptors legend Jakob Poeltl.
That's great. Yeah. Just dropped 30 points, I think, the other night.
Heck yeah, he did.
Yeesh, that was a nice one. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, there's not a lot of big men.
That's why I went. That's why I did it.
Yeah.
Last 2 picks of the starting lineup here, Isaiah.
Yeah. So you know what, KD, I think he might have to be our center. I'm gonna go ahead and just put that out there. Let's see. I think
Jakob is locking him up.
Listen. Wait, with Kevin Durant being the centerpiece, right? You got Sadiq Bey. You got D'Angelo Russell, right? But is he the smartest player on this list? I don't think so. I'm gonna go with a guy that I feel like that could construct this team. I don't know. I'll be honest. I haven't kept up with him this year too much, but he did just get traded. Obviously, we're going with Mike Conley. He's going to be next to D'Angelo Russell. Yes, he is. Yes.
And to answer Joe in the chat, your question, what are we drafting? We are drafting players dealt at the trade deadline, making a starting 5 with a 6th man. So just clarifying that there for you.
That's right. And Isaiah gets into his last pick. He obviously has Mike Conley and D'Angelo Russell in the backcourt, and then his front court sort of looking like Sadiq Bey, Kevin Durant, and one final pick here to round out his starting 5.
Should I do it? Should I do it? I'm gonna do it, guys. I'm gonna do it. You just mentioned his name not so long ago because I actually do like this player. It's just more about like the catering towards another player. But I'm gonna go ahead and put somebody at the 3 in Mr. Josh Hart. I'm gonna go ahead and add him next to Katie.
That's a great pick.
Yeah,
and literally stole what I was about to do. So thank you.
Very
Appreciate that.
That's good.
So Gary gets one pick. He has Kyrie Irving, Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, Jakob Pertl. One pick here for his last pick of his starting 5, and then he also gets the first selection of the 6-man / wild card pick.
I will be selecting for my starting shooting guard. Actually, I change it. I'm moving Kyrie Irving to shooting guard because this man is going to run my point. This man is Devin Withers' favorite basketball player on the planet. I will be taking Russell freaking Westbrook as my starting point guard.
Yes.
I've got to do it. I think it was just more so fun, but I've got to be doing it. I need Russell Westbrook on my team, and hopefully he can. I'm going to stop with the hopefullys with Russell Westbrook, but I get a 6th man as well, and I think no better player represents the 6th man role, and somebody who's just going to shoot every single time he gets the ball, and somebody who's a great 3-point shooter, and somebody who is generally, going to give LeBron James a good player to pass to. I'm going with Malik Beasley. I was reading my thing. I'm going with Malik Beasley.
You already have Mikal Bridges.
Yeah, I'm trying to get that second person. Nicholas, I love you, but I need you to stop talking crap. I know I have no backcourt defense. Don't tell me that.
All right. So the Mr. Irrelevant pick here.
That's Gary, right?
No, that's you. I just picked my 6th man.
His 6th man
is all you, buddy.
Beasley.
Okay. I mean, I didn't hear that. Okay. All right. So the final guy, I need some scoring. He's back in Brooklyn. Back when he was in Brooklyn, he did very well, and he's not a bad player anyway. I'm gonna go ahead and have my 6th man be Spencer Dinwiddie.
Ooh, that's a good pick. I should have went there.
Yeah, I would have absolutely taken Russell Westbrook, but yeah, Spencer Dinwiddie.
Yeah, not bad lineup. So let's just recap really quick. Gary with Kyrie and Russ Westbrook in his backcourt, and then he also gets Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, Jakob Pertl, and then his 6th man coming off the bench is Malik Beasley, and then the other team, Isaiah's team, he gets his backcourt of D'Angelo Russell and Mike Conley, and then also has Saddiq Bey, Josh Hart, and Kevin Durant, I guess, is going to play the 5 against Jakob Pertl here. Yeah,
it's good.
It's going to be an interesting matchup.
I hate my team. What did I do? I hate my team.
No Mason Plumlee. No Jay Crowder.
That left-hand shot that he does.
There. No one took my boy Hachimura.
I'm sorry.
I just need my guys to outscore you.
The entire city of Tokyo is going to be in our DMs.
At least Westbrook's with us,
That's right. As we move into the NBA All-Star Weekend Draft, this is the perfect way to wrap up the show as we near the hour mark here. And let's wrap it up. We've got the skills competition, the 3-point contest, and the slam dunk contest. It's going to be all 3 of us competing this time. And whoever ends up first on the wheel is going to be number 1 for the skills competition, number 2 for the 3-point competition, and number 3 for the dunk contest. We're going to spin it 2 times, I guess, and then the remaining 2 names will then end up for the battle between the 2nd and the 3rd pick. Ideally, depending on your outlook on the dunk contest or the 3-point contest, I don't know if you guys want the number 2 pick, because if you end up with the number 2 pick, that means you only end up with 2 3-point shooters, but you also get 2 dunk contest players as well. So it just depends on your outlook on the whole entire situation. So whenever you're ready, Isaiah.
Okay, let's go. So I got you on the wheel too, Dev.
All right, perfect.
And just for chat clarification, just to let you know, we're basically picking who we think is going to win these competitions. So next week, when we figure out who's the winner, we'll, you basically, because there's an odd number of, or an even number of players, and there's an odd number of drafters, somebody gets lucky and has an extra chance at winning the respect of the other 2. So, yeah.
Cool.
Right.
So let's put out the music again. There we go.
All right, here we go. I'm ready. I'm so ready.
Oh,
I'm so ready to not get the first pick again.
Give me the number 1 pick.
I might have to play the lotto if I get this again.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, the number 1 pick. Number 1 pick. And then it's just down to Gary and Isaiah. Once again, if you're the number 2, you're going to end up with 2 dunkers and 2 3-point contests participants. And if you're the number 3 pick, you're going to end up with 3 3-point shoot contest participants and only 1 slam dunk participant.
Slim pickings over here in the slam dunk contest. If you caught the beginning of this podcast, if you
already
didn't catch the beginning, go rewind. Go watch me talk about how trash our slam dunk contest is this year, as it's garbage.
So Gary, how do you feel about the no?
So Isaiah, are you able? Can you spin the wheel now with just yourself and Gary to figure out the number 2 pick?
Okay, let's do it. Oh wait,
Perfect.
Oh man, I'm gonna lose again, aren't I?
I know this is not Gary's day today.
No, it's not. I don't think I've ever gotten a number 1 pick in these drafts. I literally never have.
Hang on, this could be your chance to get number 2 again. You've been pretty good at that.
That's the worst part. That's like
no. Now you almost
don't want.
No, not Put my
Yeah. Okay,
Perfect.
here we go. Ready?
I know. Now it's gonna be Gary's luck that he's picked now.
Lose. I want to
Derek
lose.
You want Derek Jeter? Let's see.
Don't talk about Derek Jeter. I'm a Miami Marlins fan.
Oh my god.
It's Isaiah with the number 2
Hey,
pick.
I've never been so excited to lose.
Hey, at least
All
you
right.
get Green Bay.
Perfect.
Cool.
So for this first section, we have only 3 teams competing in the skills competition. Not even a big fan of this.
Mm-hmm.
Team Antetokounmpo with Giannis, and Alex Antetokounmpo. Team Jazz with Jordan Clarkson, Walker Kessler, and Colin Sexton. And the team of rookies, Paolo Banchero, Jaden Ivey, and Jabari Smith Jr. This is very interesting. I'm actually staying away from team Antetokounmpo. Yes, no Mac McClung Slender. Absolutely none of that for the remainder of this episode.
McClung show.
This is interesting because I'm really down to 2 picks. I don't want Team Antetokounmpo because I think Giannis, as good as he is, I just don't trust that whole entire team as a whole. And if it's about shooting, I don't really trust any of the 3 of them in the first place. Jordan Clarkson's interesting in shooting terms, passing terms. I really like what the rookies have. I'm going to go with the team of rookies. I'm going to go team rookies, Paolo Banchero, Jaden Ivey, and Jabari Smith Jr. I actually have Paolo Banchero and Jaden Ivey both on one of my fantasy basketball teams. So I'm going with them. I'm riding with team of rookies. I like my start.
Good pick. I think that was everyone's number 1.
Yeah.
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 Which then means Isaiah ends up with the number 2 pick here. So he's either Team Antetokounmpo or he's Team Jazz. He always talks about Giannis potentially being one of the greatest of all times. It's literally in the intro. Does he back it up, or is he going with the Utah Jazz team?
Listen, I talk about Giannis a lot. I don't talk about Alex or okay. Look, Giannis, I said if he gets that 3-point shot, if he does this, he is the best player in basketball right now, defensively, offensively. But in a competition like this, I don't know. Of course, he's obviously the best player in this thing, but I'm going to go with the Jazz. The Jazz overperform every opportunity they get this year. And Jordan Clarkson's he's always been one of the most skilled players in the league, in my opinion. Colin Sexton is nice, and he got Walker Kessler. I'm going with that. I would have definitely took the rookies first, but I'll go with the Jazz.
So, Gary, you end up with somehow the last pick, but you got a team that has Giannis on it. I mean, that's not a horrible consolation.
No, not at all. And, Thanasis and Alex, we could talk about their involvement in this competition as more of a consolation for Giannis to compete in it. So good for the league and convincing Giannis to be a part of this competition. I mean, I got to take them. They're the only thing left. But, put all my money on the greatest basketball player on the planet. I'll take that.
Perfect. All right, so this next section is going to be the 3-point contest. Tyrese Halliburton, Tyler Hero, Buddy Hield, Kevin Porter, Damian Lillard, Lauri Markkanen, Anthony Simons, and Jason Tatum round out the 8 participants. Once again, if you're just tuning in, We had to rotate. The math does add up ultimately. Gary, I think, gets sort of screwed out of this because he only gets 2 participants in the 3-point contest as opposed to 3. But it's going to even out when Gary gets 50% of the dunk contest field in the next event, while the rest of us, myself and Isaiah, only get 1. So, Gary, you also end up with, I believe, the number 1 pick.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so you get your choice of the field.
What does this mean?
Oh.
What does this mean?
Yeah.
Dame.
Yeah.
It's Dame time. Logo Lillard. I'm taking Logo Lillard as my number 1 pick in the 3-point contest draft. There is, by the way, there is a deep 3 that counts as, I don't know how many points it counts. I think maybe 4. I really have no idea.
Yeah.
But that counts, and I'm going to take maybe the second greatest deep 3-point shooter in NBA history, not named Stephen Curry. So there you go. I'm going Damian Lillard, first pick in this 3-point draft.
All right, Damian Lillard off the board. That's interesting. I mean, I was looking at Damian Lillard. This contest is so confusing because it's sometimes not about always the biggest names. I'm going with someone that I've wanted on the Lakers for a long time. I wanted him. I talked about him last episode. I'm going with Buddy Hield, statistically one of the best 3-point shooters in today's NBA. I'm going Buddy Hield. I like the quick release. Sometimes this competition is more about just getting all the shots off, and I trust that Buddy Hield is going to have all the shots off by the time that clock hits 0. I'll go Buddy Hield.
I'm glad you took the best 3-point shooter left on the chart because I wasn't going to do it, and I would have felt guilty by not taking it.
I know who you're going with.
Do you? I'm curious. But let me see. We're about to find out, right? I think this is going to be the year if the Denver Nuggets did not win the NBA Finals. And I said this last year when the Celtics lost, that Tatum got that experience. He got that taste. This is the year of Jason Tatum. So I'm going to go with Jason Tatum as my first pick there. And I do believe I get the one coming back as well. And then the second one, I'm going for a personal shot here. I'm tempted to take Mr. Halliburton because he's great also. He's probably the second best player left. Well, the best player left on this list. But I'm going with the man, the myth, the legend. I literally was face-to-face with him not too long ago, Mr. Tyler Hero himself.
Oh, Tyler.
He's got that, he's got that look. Like, I just feel like there's a moment where he drains that half-court shot, and he gives you that look, man. So,
what does he do? He does the...
I'll tell him face-to-face.
What does Tyler do? He does the snarl. He's like,
yeah,
I can't do it. Exactly. I'm not good at it, but that's oof. Okay, I'm sad, but
Before this next pick has to go on, I have to apologize because this is a very Steve Harvey-like moment, I feel like, because I think the math got added up wrong. I think Isaiah's actually the one that ends up with only 2 players in the 3-point contest, but will end up with the 2 dunkers in the dunk contest as well. So just the way the math adds up, Isaiah, but you still get 50% of the field.
It's okay. Tyler Hero's going to win the 3-point.
There you go. So you're going to end up with Jason Tatum and Tyler Hero as your 2 participants, and then Gary and I will end up with 3 players total, and then we'll move on to the dunk contest after this. So now we're down to 4 players between myself and between Gary. I'm going to go with sort of, I think, I'm between 2 guys right now. I'm going to go... I'm just going to take the best player available, I think. I'm going to go Tyrese Halliburton because I know he's not going to come back around for me. I'm going to hope that the guy that I want comes back around as Mr. Irrelevant pick.
He's got that weird shot, but it goes in. So
he does, yeah. That's the only thing. If he's
but I think he can get it off pretty quick if he gets it consistent. I know it's a little bit slow of a release, but if he gets in a rhythm, I'd say it's dangerous. So you're leaving me with 2 here. And I think that I think I'm going to go with who I think are the 2 best players still on the board here. I'm going with my first pick. I'm going to go with players in Sacramento seem to call him Kevon when he shoots some pretty good shots. I'm going Kevin Huerter, Light the Beam in Sacramento. And I'm also going to go with the hometown kid, Lauri Markkanen.
Damn it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Dev. I got to go with Markkanen. Showing off right now in Utah. And I'm glad that, I think it is important when the All-Star event is happening in the home city that they do have a representative for that team. So I'm glad that Lauri Markkanen is able to play, and not only the All-Star game, but the 3-point contest as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to mark it in, but I knew if I let Halliburton go, that was probably going to be one of the guys.
Yeah, no, I would have snatched Halliburton right out of your purse.
Yeah. So we move into the dunk contest. So we got to rotate everybody. So now Isaiah ends up with the number 1 pick. Gary will end up with the number 2 pick. And then I will end up as the number 3, which I believe – how is it supposed to?
Well, because Isaiah only got 1 pick or 2 picks, I think the last pick should just generally just go to him.
Yes. So we'll just pick one time all the way through, and then instead of doing a snake, it'll just jump back up to Isaiah.
Mm-hmm. A little confusing, but deep takes for 3. We're a work in progress, but we're running with the
we'll get the graphic.
Running with the punches.
There we go. All right, Isaiah. So you get the first pick and then the last pick.
I know it seems like I know, like, I mean, like, there are some great names on this list. I understand. it's
a hard pick.
Very hard to pick. I could go really the wrong way, the left way, I'm gonna do it for the chat because why not? I'm gonna do it for Nick. Here we go. No Mac McClung slander. Just for that, I'm taking Mr. KJ Martin. Damn it.
Taking KJ Martin.
KJ Martin.
All right. Wait, you just passed on Jericho Sims. How are you the mayor of the New York Knicks fan base and you pass up?
Listen.
Well, there's only 4 participants and one of them's a Knick.
Because if Sims wins, I win. But if I picked him and he lost, then we both lose.
Oh.
So I have like a 2 out of 5. Was it 5 players? Yeah, 2 out of 4 chance to be happy.
Yeah.
So Sims is
all right,
better.
Gary, you got number 2, and there's only 3 options.
I think I gotta go with a guy who, when I saw him play, I was like, "Who the hell is this guy?" But played some solid defense. I didn't really know he was that much of a dunker, but I gotta give Isaiah some slander here. So I'll be taking Jericho Sims as my second pick.
Oh, so Jericho Sims doesn't come back around to Isaiah, which leaves me with Mac McClung or Trey Murphy III. And I, unlike Isaiah, am going to be a truther, and I'm not going to back down from my fan base because LA Laker fans know that there is no Mac McClung slander. This man is a pure dunker, and there's a reason why he got invited to this show, and it's not because everyone else from the 450 options denied the invitation. It's because Mac McClung is going to have a great showing at the dunk contest. I'm going Mac McClung. Should have been the number 1 pick, let alone the number 2 pick.
Oh my goodness.
But he's a bargain at the number 3 pick.
So, just as a general question, when Mac McClung dunks in the contest, is he going to be wearing his NBA jersey or his G League
Probably
jersey?
his G League jersey. Or just
Maybe
whatever
Warriors jersey, because I remember that's what I remember him for. The Warriors jersey.
Which means that Isaiah, you now end up as your team becoming KJ Martin and Trey Murphy the third for the dunk contest participants. So you get 50% of the field. So we'll see if you come out on top of that. But fellas, almost an hour and 15 minutes for their show. Another episode in the books, episode number 31. Anyone have some final words before we send it off?
I just want to just generally applaud the NBA trade deadline. A lot of people are saying that it was one of the best that we've had in a couple of years. And honestly, I think back to around 2015 trade deadline. I remember sitting in my math class in high school and just reading the Twitter going crazy every 15 seconds. Another thing was dropping. And it did feel like that this trade deadline. Everybody was waiting for the big stuff. We did get the Kevin Durant trade a little bit early, but shout out to the NBA for one of the most entertaining weekends one of the most entertaining days that we get in the league, living up to the hype. So shout out to the NBA for that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I have breaking news. No, I'm joking.
Oh my God. I was like, the trade deadline's over. What happened? Did someone hurt? Did aliens invade the Madison Square Garden? Like,
LeBron James just used his power. He extended the deadline just for now so he can make one trade. The Lakers are acquiring Kevin Durant.
He called up Adam Silver and he was like, Adam, there's a problem.
Yeah. Which is
I know you let me pass Kareem, but like you got to help me out on this one.
Which is like sort of crazy. I know we're wrapping up the show, but like remember years and years ago, like the Lakers tried acquiring Chris Paul at in a trade and it got vetoed. Imagine now, like how have some of these trades have been so broken. That Rudy Gobert trade broken. The Kevin Durant one is probably worse than that Chris Paul original trade offer. But yeah, it's just crazy to think back of what the NBA used to be versus what it is now.
I mean, it's about commissioners. It's David Stern. I mean, rest in peace to the late, great David Stern, but he wouldn't put up with that BS. He wouldn't, he wanted to keep his league competitive, but he ruled with an iron fist, for better or for worse. There are some criticisms you can make about David Stern and his ability, like his commissioning decisions. But one of the things I think he was very adamant about is making sure that parity in the league was generally like pretty stretched even. And Adam Silver being a more player positive, commissioner in general, I think he's willing to let that stuff slide. And I think front offices are generally held a little bit more responsible for the decisions they've made instead of, generally just making them feel better and vetoing these trades. You also have to remember that Chris Paul trade, the NBA did technically own the New Orleans Pelicans or the Hornets at the time.
Yeah.
So the veto could have been just because David Stern was like, nah, that trade sucks.
Fair. But yeah, fellas, as we wrap up the 31st episode, we look forward to number 32, hopefully taking place next week with the three of us. Once again, check out all of our content at theathleteshub.org, Facebook, The Athletes Hub, Twitter. We've got our YouTube channel as well. So we look forward to debuting more content and joining you guys next week. So with that, have a good one.
Go watch Free Baseball, 9 p.m.
There you go. Free Baseball.
Go watch Free Baseball, 9 p.m. here. Wherever you're watching it right now, it will also appear on that feed. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Shout out Reggie Mailer, number 31. We out.